Hi ho, everyone. We are back with you once again for another Johnny Torch Live, number 126. Torch News Roundup today, number 116. Well, welcome back, one and all. And here we are on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnny Torch Live. Hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving weekend. We had a great time over here at Torch Tower, stately Torch Tower, overlooking the fair metropolis below. So let me be the last to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And so, we have a lot of news to talk about today, or at least a decent amount. I don't know if I'll say a lot, but first off, let us bring you up to date with Bullets Bourbon number 5. As you can see right there, the uh, the icon, or whatever you want to call it, the image in the middle of the screen, my profile avatar, if you would, has been changed to reflect Bullets Bourbon number 5, now going to print. It should be available shortly, certainly available by Christmas for all your Christmas shopping needs. Just go to the link in the description below and you can find my website, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Comics. And you can find the Bullets Bourbon store, which is there and is in full swing with a lot of sales. As a matter of fact, I was really excited to see that my t-shirts, sweatshirts, and so forth are all on sale right now because I collect t-shirts. I love t-shirts. And I actually got myself a sweatshirt, because I don't have a Bullets Bourbon sweatshirt. I made up some t-shirts for myself to wear, but I don't have a sweatshirt. And now that the weather is pretty cold up here, that's just the ticket. So go down there to the link in the description below, and you can check it out for yourself. I don't have anything else up on my website yet for the issue. I am not going to be giving out a free preview yet until the issue is available for purchase, which, as I said, won't be long. But I'm very proud of this issue. I have to say, I honestly worked harder to make this issue the best it possibly could be over any other project I've ever worked on. I mean, I worked meticulously to every scintilla of the issue to make sure it was as good as I personally could make it be. And I have the personal satisfaction of knowing that I gave 110%. No project is perfect, and I'm not suggesting that things couldn't be improved going forward. That is the way I look at it. Things should always be improved, always make improvements and make the next issue better than the last. But I, as a one-man operation, can honestly say I could do no more for this issue. And I did get some help with my editor who fixed the cover especially and fixed it up for me, readying it for publication. So I want to give thanks to him. And just check it out, and it will be probably listed on Indie Planet certainly by Christmas. Hopefully the digital download will be available by then, but I can't make any promises on that so far. But I'm pretty sure it will be listed, and you will have it delivered probably in time for Christmas. So I'm very excited. Issue number 5 has been in the works for quite some time. It's been a while since I could get an issue out because this is actually a double-sized issue, at least for me. I try to cut all the story arcs up into 3 acts, a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it doesn't always work that way. My last story arc was only 2 issues, and I have one in the future that's going to be 4, at least one that's going to have 4 acts. So I don't go into a project already establishing exactly what I want to do. What I do is I write a whole story, I break it down, and I realize what the chapters should probably be. Some are longer than others, some are fairly short. I think the first issue is only about 14 pages, and this one, of course, is 26. But it balances out, it evens out at the end of it all. So yeah, once again, check out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon number 5 in the link in the description on my website below. And also, while you're there, you can check out the Twitter page. The link to the Twitter page should be there as well. Let us take a look at my Twitter page, and you will see we have a poll of the week question. A poll of the week question is there. And the question this week is a topic on the Flash TV show. The Flash series has many versions of Harrison Wells in the past few seasons, all played by Tom Cavanaugh. Of the main versions now, not the German Wells and not the Italian Wells. There's a bunch of Wells that were actually just as funny as the ones we've had as main characters. But of the 4 main Wells that have been on The Flash over these past few seasons, which is your favorite? The choices are Eobard Thawne, the false Wells, when it was really Thawne. Harrison Wells Earth 2, which is sort of the default Wells. He's, I think, what Earth 1 Wells would be if, he was sort of in a, I don't want to say steampunk, but like a, sort of like the golden age of heroes. That's what Earth 2 sort of is. And the third choice is H.R. Wells, who bravely gave up his life. And of course, the fourth choice is Sherlock Wells, who is the current Wells in this season. 34 votes cast so far, and with a substantial lead is Eobard Thawne. Eobard Thawne with 44% of the vote. With a slight lead in second place over the third place contestant, we have Harrison Wells Earth 2 with 29% of the vote. He's probably my favorite Wells. I think he's the most reliable. I mean, Eobard was just as well, if not better, played by, oh, I forget the name of the actor who plays Thawne on the show, but he's a very good actor, and I think I would probably say that I would prefer him as Thawne if there was a choice. HR got 26% of the vote in third place, and as of now, Sherlock Wells has gotten 0 votes. I guess he's not resonating with fans, although this is kind of early in the season for this poll. Maybe I'm a little ahead of the curve here and should have waited until maybe he could have endeared himself to fans a little more because, HR's got his fans, it seems, but not Sherlock. All right, so you got 5 days still remaining to vote if you are listening to this either live or considerably around the original broadcast date. And so head on over to my Twitter page and you can check it out for yourself. All right, now let us get to the stories of the day, the topics at hand, and let me prepare myself by a splash of H2O. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's darn good entertainment. When you can hear somebody drinking water in a live broadcast. But these broadcasts are nothing if not spontaneous. By the way, before we actually get into the show proper, check out my review of Creed 2. Creed 2, I finished that review back on Wednesday. I saw the movie on Tuesday. Very good. No spoilers right here, but I'm going to say if you're a fan of Rocky or Creed, either franchise, it's basically one big franchise. Go and check this out because it is a great sequel to Rocky 4, which is one of my favorites. I typically say Rocky is my favorite of the franchise, but as a kid growing up, it was Rocky 4. Rocky 4 was my favorite. Maybe that's because I think it's probably the first one I ever saw. I think it was the first one I ever saw. I know back in the day, I think Rocky 4 was on HBO like 15 times a day. That's kind of the way they did it. And I remember watching it like endlessly, and I loved it every time. The only other one I saw at the time when I was a kid was Rocky 1, because of course it was an Oscar winner, and it had been out for like whatever it was at that time, 10, 12 years at that point. So it was on broadcast television. You'd see it like on the movie loft. That's a New England thing. You probably don't know that if you're outside of New England, but Dana Hersey would like show a movie on, I don't know what it was, a Saturday night or something like that. And back in those days when you didn't have a lot of cable stations, that's what you did for the, big movies of the day. And I'd see Rocky. They used to show Superman a lot, the Christopher Reeve Superman. And yeah, these are the movies of my childhood. And so, Rocky, the first one, I really took to that film as well a lot, liked that one a lot. Rocky 3 was like the last one I saw when I was a kid. Rocky 2, I don't know. I'm turning this into a Rocky discussion here, but I was supposed to do a Rocky ranking video. I think I pretty much just gave my entire views on it right here. But yeah, I saw Rocky 3 last. Rocky 3 I thought was great. Rocky 2 was okay. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. Check it out in the link to the description below. You can find oh, it's not in the description, but it's I'm gonna put a card up at the end of the video. So if you haven't seen the review for Creed 2, I'll put a card at the end of the video. Okay, so now getting on to the topic at hand before I get any further down this crazy rabbit hole, let us talk first about. I bid everyone a happy Thanksgiving, but of course it wasn't a happy Thanksgiving for the SJWs because they always find something to complain about, don't they? I mean, come on, let's be honest here. Do you remember what it was like when we didn't have social media and stupid people's stupid opinions were kept to themselves? Yeah, I kind of miss those days too. But apparently, now because we have social media, every idiot's opinion is important and worth listening to, and will probably garner three or four more idiots behind them to tell the first idiot that he had some kind of leg to stand on when he voiced his outrage and complaints. And the complaint was that Charlie Brown Thanksgiving is racist, possibly unintentionally racist, but racist, because as you can see in the image before you, Franklin, the only black member of the cast of Peanuts, which is a name that the creator Charles Schultz he never liked, he never took to. The syndicate gave him that name, so I usually don't even, I just call it the Charlie Brown Show, which is what he later called it. But Franklin is the only black member of the Peanuts crew, and he is sitting by himself on the other side of the table. Now, this should be by all standards ridiculous for anyone to think that Charles Schultz was racist or in some way was placating racists and racism by putting Franklin on the other side of the table. Charles Schultz was actually under attack back in the late 60s. I believe it was the late 60s when he created Franklin. And, you know, he was getting threats. He was getting threats over why did he put this black child in with the white kids in the Peanuts cartoon and comic strip. And to his credit, not only did he not back down, Charles Schultz, but he didn't even think he was doing anything spectacular. He didn't think he was doing anything noteworthy. He didn't think he was carrying a flag for any cause. He, when asked why did he put a black character in with the Peanuts gang, basically said, "Well, I wanted to create a black character, and I didn't see why I shouldn't. And well, I created Franklin." There wasn't any kind of political statement with Charles Schultz. He just did what he wanted to do, and what he wanted to do was basically reflect the world as normal, as you can normally see it, without making a big deal out of it, without showing off that he was some kind of progressive thinker or that he was some kind of, maverick in the field. And he was one of my heroes, obviously, as a cartoonist myself, and he, quite frankly, is the type of person we need more in this day and age, with all the social justice nonsense that's been going on. All right, I don't have the article in front of me because this is old news. This is definitely old news, but I can tell you probably from a practical standpoint why Franklin is on that side of the table. Now, of course, I never noticed this as being anything until, I don't think many people did. It's people that are looking for something to complain about would find this as an issue and cause a great disturbance over it. But the reason why Franklin's probably on that side of the table is because Linus is the religious officiator of all the Peanuts cartoons. He always has the most profound things to say. He's at the head of the table, understandably. Marcy is at the other end of the table because she has to exit the table at the end of the scene. After the conversation's over, she has to leave the table, and it was easier to animate it that way. That's basically the same reason why Charlie Brown, Peppermint Patty, and Snoopy are all in a row there on the right side of the table, is because with the camera set up to show the action, they're the primary characters. Charlie Brown is getting berated by Peppermint Patty because, if you haven't seen the show, spoilers, but I think everybody's grown up with this, is pretty safe to say at this point. Peppermint Patty's berating Charlie Brown because he made toast and popcorn for Thanksgiving dinner that she invited herself to, and Snoopy is there for sort of the comic relief. He's just like munching away until she sort of uh, brings him into the conversation and he sort of shrinks away. So that would leave Sally as the only other person that could probably be on the other side of the table. But it would be understandable that because Sally is in love with Linus and because Sally is Charlie Brown's sister, she would be seated in between the two of them. So again, this is really a big issue over nothing, as the SJWs tend to make these things. You can see there was a common sense answer to the situation. I feel bad that, I mean, I always noticed that Franklin got the broken chair. He got the broken chair. I think that's more down to the fact that, in all honesty, Franklin is sort of a glorified extra. He didn't have any dialogue in this entire scene, and so to be the one to just get sort of the gimmick chair gave him something to do in the scene. Otherwise, he would have been sitting there silent while the drama played out with the main protagonists. But it's still very important that he was, invited to this Thanksgiving dinner, and he was a part of this special, which is something, like I said, Charles Schultz didn't shy away from, whether it might have been seen as controversial or not. So there you go. Then again, I just had to give my 2 cents on this ridiculous issue. And let me know what you think in the comments below, how ridiculous this, in fact, is, that it would be brought up as a point of conversation to begin with. And we will move on now to some of the more, that was my editorial. Now let's move on to some of the actual news items. All right, first off, we're going to talk about, let's see, we have the official word that the what was called the Scarlet Witch TV series is going to in fact be the Vision and Scarlet Witch series. Now this is something that I pretty much expected. I don't know why they held off on calling it the Vision and Scarlet Witch, because now, as we just got through talking about the SJWs, now they can start battering the Disney Plus series here as somehow, horning in the Vision into Scarlet Witch's series, when everybody knew that it would have been the both of them, because basically you take one away from the other and they're boring characters. I really don't see, I mean, you could put the Scarlet Witch with Quicksilver and do something like that. That's fine. But I mean, if you're going to carry an ongoing series, you want to stick her with the Vision. And the same thing with the Vision. He's even more of a tough sell outside of the Avengers than the Scarlet Witch. So they're going to start complaining and hemming and hawing all over this. But it has been confirmed, let's see here on the press release, that Vision will indeed be joining Wanda Maximoff on the show. In fact, he's getting top billing. The official title is actually Vision and the Scarlet Witch. We have no other details at this time, but we do know that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are expected to reprise their big screen roles. Is it reprise or reprise? I say reprise. Reprise? I don't know. That doesn't sound right. Anyway, the plot also remains a mystery, but speculation points to the story taking place before the events of Avengers Infinity War. I wish all these shows would not be prequels. I'm more interested in going forward. I'm not so interested in seeing what they can do in between stories, because I think it's just like a false, it's like a false flag where they're trying to like say, well, they're not coming back, they're dead, and this and that. But we know they're going to come back. I mean, most of these characters are going to come back. I mean, Spider-Man is not going to die in Infinity War. They're going to find a way to bring him back, along with probably 90% of the others. So I don't really get why they have to sort of hedge their bets here by saying, well, it's probably in between, Civil War and Infinity War. I don't know. It doesn't really make any difference. They could just come out and say it. But yeah, that'll be an interesting show. I think the Vision and Scarlet Witch had a pretty lengthy, history, backstory in the comics, and if they can really focus on that, that would be interesting. Give them something solid here to work with. From what I hear, these shows on Disney Plus are not exactly going to be full length. I mean, they're going to be, I think, 6 to 8 episodes long, from what I remember hearing. Not really a lot of time to tell a story, but it's better than the Marvel one shots. Remember that from the DVDs, when we got some one shots of little things that we wanted to see more of, and then they actually gave us more of with Agent Carter, and then they took her away from us. But anyway, in related news, it also says here that it's been confirmed that the Kate Shortland helmed Black Widow movie will commence production next year and is aiming for a 2020 release. So yeah, that Black Widow movie is on track And that too, I think, is being touted as a prequel. That might be more interesting, though. I kind of want to see Black Widow more when she was more shady. That's kind of the gimmick with her, is that she does the things that the other heroes really wouldn't do. As Nick Fury said, she's comfortable with everything, and that's pretty intense. That's cool. That's something we want to see. All right, so let me know what you think about the Black Widow movie coming out in 2020 allegedly, and the Vision Scarlet Witch TV show on Disney Plus. Okay, we have a couple of movies that are in the works. First up, the lovely magician Zatanna is supposedly going to get her own movie. Now, this is kind of interesting because Zatanna is another character, I think, like the Scarlet Witch. This is kind of coincidental that I'm putting these stories back to back. I really didn't intend it for it this way. My notes, I'm just reading them sequentially here. But this is another one, as I said, the Scarlet Witch probably doesn't exist very well on her own. She has to be either with Vision or Quicksilver or, the Avengers or something like that. I don't really know that a Zatanna standalone movie is something that everybody needs. Now, if she were to be in some kind of project with the Bat family, I think that would be the best thing. It doesn't have to be with Batman, possibly with I don't know, in a Teen Titans movie or something as a seasoned hero or something. I don't really know about a as a standalone if it would work. But anyhow, the report on Dateline is that Warner Brothers has a slate of female-led comic book projects on the horizon. They mentioned that there's been talk. That's all we have so far is quote unquote been talk at Warner Brothers of a Zatara movie. No further details are provided, but they do reiterate the plans that are still in place for Supergirl and Batgirl standalone films, which will take precedence over new big screen outings for the likes of Superman and The Flash. Now, this is kind of problematic as well. I don't mind, and I actually look forward to a Batgirl film if it is the Barbara Gordon Batgirl, and a Supergirl film would be fine too. But I don't really see why they are trying to back up Superman and the Flash. Possibly it has to do with the bizarre contract negotiations going on with Henry Cavill. They still can't seem to get the Flash on the ground, pun intended. Partially because Justice League wasn't received that well, and Ezra Miller is kind of a wild card. He wasn't like the strongest, representation of Barry Allen we've ever had. Of the three live action representations, he's firmly in third place. But I don't know. I still think there's a way to make that work. I don't understand why they want to have these, mainstays of the DC universe take a back seat unless they're trying to jump on this all-female bandwagon and trying to get over on Marvel, something that Marvel hasn't really gotten done right yet. I mean, Marvel keeps getting these little storylines out that Kevin Feige might do an all-female movie of, female Avengers or something. We might get Valkyrie and Black Widow and, maybe Wasp or something. I don't know. It just there really is no impetus for that in Marvel. And as far as these solo movies are concerned for DC, I don't really see how that's going to help them get on track. They are in good shape. I personally liked Justice League a lot. I think they're in good shape going forward. All points are pointing to Aquaman being a smash success. Shazam looks like it's going to be successful as well because it seems to be playing to the to the youngest members of the audience. It looks like a family film and a crowd pleaser. So that should be successful too. So when you're on track with that, why wouldn't you try to get Superman and the Flash done right? The Superman hasn't been done right yet with Henry Cavill, apart from the last act of Justice League. So I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know why you don't want to try to pursue when you had a good thing started with Justice League. Of course, the problem is the DCEU is always going to have the stank on it that Zack Snyder brought. You just can't do anything about that. You've just got to keep going forward. And they're taking sort of the what happened to Star Wars with Solo underperforming and the backlash. They're trying to sort of take that as well with Justice League, but it's a different situation altogether. They've already axed the dead weight. They've axed the poisonous limb with Zack Snyder. You don't have to do anything else. Just keep going forward with these characters. You don't have to get cute. You don't have to get SJW. You don't have to give us Supergirl, Batgirl, and Zatanna before you give us Superman and the Flash. Just get the tone right, which is all any DC fan has been asking. Get Superman right, get Batman right. He's not a crazed killer, just for future reference. And Superman's hopeful and optimistic, and he's also not a killer. And the movies should write themselves, quite honestly, with the background that these heroes have had for going on 80 years now. Come on. It shouldn't be that hard. Okay, so that's great artwork, by the way. That Bruce Timm version of Zatanna. Oh, mamma mia. Okay, so let's see. Moving on now. Let me know what you think in the comments below there about Zatanna. We've got another film that's in the works again. Kind of makes it feel SJW-ish that they're going with Blue Beetle before Superman and the Flash. Now, the interesting thing about this is this seems to be a course change halfway through what the course change was post Snyder. All right, so after Man of Steel had mixed reviews, they stuck by their guy and said, "Look, we're not going to start over again," because they started over with Green Lantern because it was people didn't respond as well to it as they should have for various reasons, which we'll get into some other time. But Man of Steel wasn't really a crowd pleaser, but they said, look, we're going to stick with Zack Snyder. We're going to build on the foundation, and we're going to bring in Batman. Everybody's going to have love and peace and friendliness and warmth and hospitality. Didn't turn out that way because Zack Snyder wasn't the right guy for the project. And, of course, things just got worse and worse. Now, before we get to, like, Wonder Woman and stuff like that, let's talk about Justice League. Now, they already, Zack Snyder backed away for personal reasons, but they brought in Joss Whedon to fix the situation, so to speak. They wanted to fix the situation and make the fans happy and try to install some confidence in the franchise going forward. So he brought some good rewrites, I would say, to whatever Snyder was planning with Justice League. And the movie was not received that well because half the people hated Zack Snyder and didn't want to see it because of the stank he put on it. The other half of the people hated Joss Whedon because of either personally not liking him or also because they like Zack Snyder and didn't cotton to the idea of someone finishing his movie or rewriting his movie and altering his movie. So the second wave was a pretty smart move, which is they had Wonder Woman on track. Patty Jenkins was the perfect choice for that, and she delivered the goods with a good Wonder Woman movie. Now, the projects going forward after Justice League, post Justice League, if you will, were pretty strong. They had James Wan, they still have, of course, James Wan directing and producing this Aquaman film that is a great representation of the character from the comics. You have Patty Jenkins working on Wonder Woman 2, which I can only imagine if she brings the same kind of, verisimilitude to the character as she did the first time, which should still be a successful movie. Shazam as well, like I said, it seems like a fun crowd pleaser, big meet Superman or some such. So it looks like things are on track. Now, this is where they, for some reason, are course correcting something that doesn't need to be course corrected because it's already been course corrected. As they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We don't really know the return something like Aquaman and Wonder Woman 2 will make, but they're already course correcting here and trying to bring in all female projects, Birds of Prey. The aforementioned Batgirl, Supergirl, Zatanna. They're trying to appeal to SJWs apparently with all female movies and with, in this case, a all Latino character. Now, this isn't quite as outrageous, the idea of a Blue Beetle movie. I think it's, a character that should be brought to the forefront. But the problem is that everybody, I feel pretty confident in saying this, everybody prefers the Ted Kord Blue Beetle because of his close friendship and association with Booster Gold. And everybody's been waiting for the Booster Gold Blue Beetle movie or TV series. And it has yet to happen. They can't get that off the ground for some reason. And they're not going to get it off the ground if they go with the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle in a movie. So this is kind of disappointing that this is probably going to shelve a Ted Kord Blue Beetle Booster Gold show or movie. And they actually wanted Ted Kord on in the Arrowverse on Arrow, and they were told they couldn't use him because they had big plans for him cinematically. Eventually, there were plans for, I think, a TV show for Booster Gold that would involve Blue Beetle, and it never came to fruition. And Ted Kord was ultimately replaced by Ray Palmer, and we got Brandon Routh's Ray Palmer, the Atom, in the Arrowverse instead, where he kind of acts more like Ted Kord than Ray Palmer, but you know, Ray Palmer is a character such that I don't think too many people really notice the difference. All right, so let me read the article here and we'll get this straight. According to the Wrap, there's a Blue Beetle movie in development at Warner Brothers that'll focus on the third incarnation of the DC Comics hero Jaime Reyes. Scarface reboot scribe Gareth Dunnett Alcala has reportedly been tapped to write the script, while Zev Foreman is on board as executive producer for the studio. Reyes was introduced back in 2006's Infinity Crisis and is the third character to take up the mantle of Blue Beetle after again, garbage tier media. After there should only be one after there. And that happens to all of us. I don't like to I don't want to pick on the guy. After Dan Garrett and Ted Kord, although he's arguably eclipsed by both in popularity since. Although he's arguably eclipsed both in popularity since. I disagree that is very arguable. The Mexican-American teenager will become the first Latino superhero to headline his own movie in the DCEU. So again, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are saying he could be sort of the DC Spider-Man. We want to have a teenage superhero with powers and stuff like that. Yeah, that's fine. I am not for legacy characters. I've always said that. To me, Batman is Bruce Wayne. Superman is Clark Kent. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. You cannot take that mantle off of them and put it on someone else. And that also includes Ted Kord and so on and so forth. You have to make, you have to make exceptions for things like Barry Allen, the Green Lantern, I'm forgetting his name right now, Hal Jordan. You have to make some, exceptions there because in those cases, it wasn't done for political reasons. It wasn't a political move to take a guy in a World War I doughboy hat and red tights and change him into a sleek speedster with lightning bolt motif all over his costume. You're improving on the character, and the same can be said for Green Lantern. Although Green Lantern is easier to be a legacy character because, of course, he's got a whole universe of lanterns that can come and go and so on and so forth. But I don't know. I don't see myself getting too excited over a Blue Beetle movie, but we'll see. We will definitely see. Okay, so next up we have, this is an interesting story because let's see. Yes. Oh, I love my cosplay. I love getting some cosplayers up here for for reference, for visual reference. And this is a very well done cosplay. All right, there is rumor of a Spider-Woman movie, but apparently it is not going to be an MCU Spider-Woman movie. It is going to be a Sony animated movie that will include, you guessed it, a wealth of female heroes as a team. Yes, this is a little a little disappointing because apparently if Sony can make the Spider-Woman animated movie, chances are Kevin Feige doesn't have the rights to Spider-Woman, or at least without some finagling of contracts or whatever to get Sony's approval. That means that they're not going to use her at will. They are going to have to get Sony approval the same way they probably have to get Sony approval to do all the Spider-Man villains that they've been using, which I don't know. It's kind of confusing to see how they choose the villains because so far Marvel Kevin Feige has only been choosing villains that have not been seen in live action, which is kind of understandable because Spider-Man has such a great rogues gallery that you don't really need to see some of the main ones too many times. I mean, we still can see Mysterio, Craven, Scorpion, and it'll still be fresh, and they're still great characters. But then again, there are big names in Spider-Man that definitely need to be brought back, like Green Goblin, Doc Ock. Those need to come back. Venom has already come back in Sony. Sandman to me is sort of a B-lister for Spider-Man. I don't think he needs to come back that fast, but of course he's always welcome to return in a Sinister Six or something. That would be fun to see Flint Marco again. You're gonna pay, Marco. All right, so flashback to Spider-Man 3. Venom, by the way, is doing a big box office. They said it already surpassed. What is the most recent update? I think it surpassed Wonder Woman at the box office. I mean, it is just doing globally fantastic. So I'm very happy for that because I thought it was a good movie when I saw it. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's not going to make it to my top 10 all-time favorites, but it was a good and it was a good entertaining movie. That's all you can ask for. Entertain me for an hour and for whatever it is, an hour and a half, and you've got my money. And so that's pretty much the way it goes. It was an entertaining movie, and it's not surprising that people have done people have enjoyed this, and good word of mouth has, permeated all corners of the earth. Okay, so the story here. Lauren Montgomery is in talks to take the helm of a Spider-Woman movie, which would bring together a number of female spider heroes, one of whom is expected to be Spider-Gwen from Into the Spider-Verse. Lauren Montgomery has, I don't know, it doesn't say here, but Batman Year One and Superman Batman Apocalypse to her credit, which probably means she directed animation and is good at that, which is helpful. There are conflicting reports on whether or not Gwen Stacy will end up being the lead, but the project is expected to include characters such as Spider-Woman, Madam Web, Spider-Girl, and Silk. Beck Smith, Zoo, is penning the screenplay while Amy Pascal is on board to produce. Phil Lord and Chris Miller are expected to return in a creative capacity of some sort, but no deals have been signed. So we really don't know what's going on here, quite frankly, but this, I guess, is supposed to be the sequel. Oh no, here it is. Because I heard something about a Spider-Verse sequel. Okay, it's also been confirmed that an Into the Spider-Verse sequel is moving forward with Joaquim dos Santos. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Joaquim dos Santos. Uh, Avatar: The Last Airbender and Netflix Voltron on board to direct. No story details have been revealed, but it's said that the upcoming animated movie is going to set the stage for further adventures in some way, which was to be expected. Okay, so that's pretty, Sony hasn't really learned anything, have they, about putting the cart before the horse? I mean, it's one thing to do a tease at the end of Venom about Carnage. Well, spoiler warning. But, because that movie may or may not ever be made. But when you start putting the cart before the horse when it comes to Into the Spider-Verse, I don't know. Apparently, it's getting good preliminary reviews, which is good, I guess. I don't mind this at all. I hope Into the Spider-Verse is successful because because apparently Kevin Feige has no interest in bringing Miles Morales to the MCU, and it doesn't seem to me that Sony's going to try to do it by themselves. So they want to keep a separate animated universe for Miles Morales. That's fine. Just don't take away Peter Parker and replace him with Miles Morales, and we're all good. I don't really want him also in the MCU because then, it's going to water down the concept when you have two Spider-Men working at the same time. Even if you kind of had an adult Peter Parker like you do Into the Spider-Verse, you're kind of killing the vibe, that Peter Parker is Spider-Man when you've got a junior Spider-Man there. Um, Again, I don't know. I'm probably not going to see Into the Spider-Verse until, I mean, unless I'm blessed with some kind of free tickets or something. Yeah, I'll go see it. I'm not protesting it by any means, but with so much else to do in December, December's jam packed for me. I definitely want to see Aquaman, and I'm gonna try to see Deadpool the night before Deadpool or whatever that movie's called. But yeah, I can't squeeze everything in. I seriously don't care about Into the Spider Verse. I'll be happy to wait for that for cable. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this disappointing news that Spider Woman is going to be in an animated movie? Because I would love to see Jessica Drew in Spider Man and in the MCU. I'd like to see her in a Spider-Man movie, and it would be pretty cool to see that. In last week's poll of the week, by the way, Spider-Woman Jessica Drew won the poll handily. When the question was, who do you hope the mystery character is going to be in Avengers 4? And it was pretty resounding, the response that they wanted Spider-Woman, at least my followers. But let me know what you think. Do you think Spider-Woman will ever be in an Avengers movie in the MCU? Do you think the MCU will finally bring Spider-Woman in the fold? I certainly hope so, because I think Spider-Woman is a good character, the original Jessica Drew version at least, and I think she deserves to be on the Avengers. All right, one more story here before we get to our final news event here that has been taking over all the media. First up, we have more Mandalorian cast news, and no, this is not for the Grizzly Adams remake. This, of course, is Nick Nolte. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Nick Nolte will join Pedro Pascal and Gina Carano in the first ever live-action Star Wars series, The Mandalorian. There are no details on who he'll be playing. I don't know if it's Father Christmas, but he looks much better here than he did in his mugshot. We'll all agree to that. The report does reveal that not every character will be in every episode, so don't worry about it. We'll not have to put up with seeing his mug in every episode. I have a feeling what they're doing here. I have a feeling that they're doing an old man in the sea. I don't know if that's exactly the term for it, but there was a trope back like in the 60s and 70s where television shows were about, and the best example of this for, the modern audience, because, myself included, would be the Incredible Hulk, where the protagonist kept moving on and, ingratiated himself into the lives of people around him for 1 week and would make their lives better and then just go off and continue on elsewhere. Sometimes they were hiding from a ghost from their past. In the case of the Incredible Hulk, David Banner accused of a murder he didn't commit, trying to keep the Hulk hidden away. The Fugitive was one of those shows. The formula kind of continued on into the 80s with things like the A-Team and so on and so forth. But I have a feeling that's sort of what the Mandalorian's going to be. I think they're going to have this character, the Mandalorian, whoever he ends up being, a descendant of Boba Fett or something. I don't know. But he is going to probably just move from planet to planet in pursuit of something or hiding from something. And while trying to keep a low profile, he is sort of thrust into situations that are going to, I don't know if he's going to be the kind of character like, David Banner that's going to make a difference in the lives of people that he comes in contact with. Maybe yes in some cases, maybe negatively in some cases. I don't know. That's something that'll be interesting to see. But that could be an interesting take, to do a Star Wars take on the lonely man at the sea type trope. That would be interesting. Okay, so there you have it. Nick Nolte going back to the lighthouse where he was previously employed after this. After Ang Lee's Hulk pretty much ruined his career. I don't know. I don't know. That Ang Lee's Hulk, that was terrible. That was terrible. As a Hulk fan, I was shocked, and not in a good way. And I always wanted to do a review about that film, and I can't bring it upon myself to sit through that movie again. One of the few that, even though I dislike it, I can't sit through it too much. I mean, there's ones I could say that I dislike and I'll still sit through because they have some redeeming qualities. There is next to no redeeming qualities in Ang Lee's Hulk. Honestly, there isn't. All right, in our final story of the night, we have the axe falling on the ever popular Daredevil series for Marvel Netflix. Oh yes, we bid Vida Jane to Herr Matt Murdock and old Hornhead himself, Daredevil. So, in a move not entirely unexpected, Netflix drops the axe of cancellation squarely on the head of Matt Murdock, on his little horned head. And, the fandom is in an uproar. Now, as I've said many times before, I was not a huge fan of this show or any of Netflix Marvel shows. Now, the reason why I say this is not really surprising is because they are slowly but surely cleaning house. Originally, they told us that The Defenders was not going to get a second season. Folks just thought, well, I guess they don't have any confidence in putting them all together. Then Iron Fist got the boot, and people said, well, Iron Fist was the least performing of the shows, supposedly. I don't think they ever give out ratings, but supposedly they don't get very many. They don't get much ratings. Iron Fist. Luke Cage had also put all their chips on another season. They had kind of a cliffhanger going, axed as well. And now Daredevil, after the, I guess, moderately successful third season. I haven't seen it yet. I still intend to see it. I probably should try to see it sooner rather than later, but we will see at this point. But yeah, and the fandom, of course, is disconsolate over this turn of events because Daredevil is a character that deserves better. This is my contention the whole time. Now, of course, the cast notwithstanding, I love Charlie Cox. I love Deborah Ann Wall. Vincent D'Onofrio is excellent. This is not an indictment on them. My problem with Netflix Daredevil has ever been that they squashed Daredevil into a Netflix drama. So this is sort of what we're having happen with the Arrowverse, where we squashed the DC heroes into a soap opera-esque sort of now SJW contaminant series. But in the same way, we didn't get the grand swashbuckling Daredevil that I was at least expecting in this series. There was not a lot of leaping off roofs and swinging on the billy club and seeing the glorious radar sense in all its glory. No, there was none of that. It was just violence, and violence for some reason is supposed to be a fanboy turn on, and this violence was ultra and gritty, and we're gonna talk, we're gonna use curse words, and we're gonna, you know, talk about the life and religion and everything, and be sort of callous and dark and gritty and hard edged and Miller-esque and everything, and that didn't appeal to me. I did like, and I still do like Affleck's Daredevil because I think it was a good balance of tone. We had a lot of good action for Daredevil. We had a lot of we had some humor. I don't want to say we had a lot, but I think the humor there was about on par, if not better than what was in the Netflix Daredevil. I mean, with Foggy, Foggy's always sort of a fun, humorous character, and in both shows he was kind of the same, but we never really got. We didn't get. I don't. We didn't get the good villains either. I mean, D'Onofrio notwithstanding, but I was disappointed with the Elektra storyline. I was disappointed that I haven't seen season 3, so I can't really say, but I'm disappointed that they didn't give Bullseye a costume and they're sort of putting Matt back in the black leotard. I mean, I don't see why when you have a Netflix show you can't do any of those things from the comics. Now, arguably, maybe they don't have the money on a Netflix budget. I don't know. Now, since we have Disney Plus, going all out supposedly for a Falcon and Bucky, which that's going to cost some special effects because Bucky with the metal arm, and it's usually CGI'd, I believe. And then we have the flying effects for Falcon, Scarlet Witch, and Vision. Especially if Vision is in his robot form, is going to cost a lot of money. Scarlet Witch using incantations probably is not that expensive, but it's probably going to still cost $1. You're going to be in Loki again, the god of mischief. But so if they could get this cast on Disney Plus, and they could actually make this more in line with the MCU, that would be something worth seeing, because I don't mind them having the past few seasons stay in continuity if they can the tone, change the tone enough so that it meshes with the rest of the MCU. Because that is the reason why you're not going to see Daredevil in the Avengers. You're not going to see Daredevil team up with Spider-Man. You're not going to see these things purely because you've got an R-rated franchise in an MC universe. So you're not going to really get those two things rolling at the same time. One is always going to have to sacrifice its tone for the other if you're going to try to cross them over. And they haven't been able to do that. So what I'm hoping is that maybe they'll get the cast over there on Disney Plus, rebrand it, so to speak. And listen, hey, if they have to recast, I'll be all right with that. Like I said, I like the cast and this and that, but sometimes a clean sweep is needed. I wouldn't mind so much even if they recast and just did the big budget Daredevil movie that I really want, and have him be part of the cinematic universe. Give us uh, a Heroes for Hire big budget movie as well. I mean, you can take these characters and put them in a big budget movie. That doesn't negate the previous seasons if you want to continue on with this storyline. Just do it as movies, do it as big budget movies, and I guarantee you that Daredevil at least will be successful enough to be worthwhile, to be a worthwhile venture. All right, so let me just read the article here before we close up so that I can cross the T's and dot the I's, so to speak. All right, Marvel's Daredevil will not return for a 4th season on Netflix. This is the Netflix statement, by the way. We are tremendously proud of the show's last and final season, and although it's painful for the fans, we feel it best to close this chapter on a high note. We're thankful to showrunner Eric Olson, the show's writers, stellar crew, and incredible cast, including Charlie Cox as Daredevil himself, and we're grateful to the fans who have supported the show over the years. While the series on Netflix has ended, the 3 existing seasons will remain on the service for years to come, while the Daredevil character will live on in future projects for Marvel. All right, so a lot of people have taken, some solace in the fact that Daredevil will live on in future projects for Marvel. They're not just going to completely sweep the character under the rug and forget him entirely. According to Deadline, though, we shouldn't expect to see the hero on the big screen, as the trade sources tell them that a movie is unlikely right now. Marvel itself has released a statement on the show's cancellation and confirms that the studio does indeed have plans to continue the Man Without Fear's adventures. And the Marvel statement is as follows: Marvel is extremely grateful to the huge audience that loved Marvel's Daredevil. From the moment of young Matt's first act of heroism to the birth of Paige, Murdoch, and Nelson, it has been an unbelievable journey. We are incredibly proud of the amazing showrunners and writers, starting with Drew Goddard and Stephen DeKnight, Marco Ramirez, and Doug Petrie, and Eric Olson, Charlie Cox, Deborah Ann Wall, Eldon Henson, Vincent D'Onofrio, and our casts who brought our characters to life with such excellence, and every one of the fantastic crews in New York City. We look forward to more adventures with the Man Without Fear in the future. So again, it doesn't look like it's all over for Daredevil, thankfully, but apparently he is not going to probably be in the works for the foreseeable future. Now, there could be surprises in Avengers 4. Is that what this is all leading up to? I would like to think so, that somehow Avengers 4 will include some of these characters and they would somehow, rechristen them for a more family friendly service on Disney Plus. Unsure, but we definitely do need to have a closer coexistence between the television wing and the movie wing. I think that's a necessary move on their part. They really need to get that together. Sam Ernst, who I guess was a writer on the show, took to Twitter as in to rub salt in the wound and had this tweet: "Man, so weird to be in the Daredevil writers' room today, getting the news that we're canceled. On the walls were an entire season 4 laid out, and it was so effing cool. So many moments we wanted the fans to see. Sigh, this business." So yeah, thanks for reminding us what could have been. But again, I have not been very happy with the way they've handled the Daredevil in the past, so I can't honestly say that I'm thrilled about what the prospect would have been for a season 4. I I just don't know. I can't get excited for it unless maybe they told us a little hint of what would have been. But perhaps some of that is going to make its way into future Daredevil endeavors. I don't know. But that's it for this week's show. Let me know what you think in the comments below about Daredevil, Netflix Daredevil being canceled, and The Man Without Fear now being without a show. Yes, The Man Without a Show. Make sure you check the description below. You can find the link for my website, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon. The big 5th issue on sale soon. Keep your eyes open on my website for that. And as usual, I'll probably be autographing the first, I don't know, for the first month or so, some new copies. Get yours in time for Christmas. I think it'll fit in the stocking. And you can check out my Twitter page as well in the link in the description below. You can vote in the poll of the week questions. Just have a ball. Just go nuts. Have fun. And until next time, we'll see you back next week at our regularly scheduled time for the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnnie Torch Live and the Torch News Roundup. Until next we meet, this is Johnnie Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.